All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here, of course, for podcast.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Now, hold on to your horses here, gentlemen, because this one is on love stories.
It's all about the love.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we have to give a brief shout out to our buddy Jomabe on Patreon.
Right.
He is awesome. He is
Yep.
one of our VIP patrons, and also he is the meme lord of our Discord,
right.
posting only the cringiest and dankest of memes.
Yes. You cannot tell this guy anything that might be in the slightest bit embarrassing about any shows you may or may not have watched a single episode of, or he will hold it over you for the rest of your days.
But Joe, you're awesome.
You are.
And thanks for your support. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into that, do we have any schedule changes?
Right. So, not really. In short, we on Tuesday, Hunter x Hunter, and by the way, the chipmunk thing
is over.
Is over. We've got that squared away.
Yes. But now we are putting them on VidMe.
Right. We're going to be putting them on VidMe.
But here's a thing that's really important, guys. We are in the process right now of getting verified to use a VidMe account.
So they basically have a weekly limit of how much we can upload. So the one on YouTube will be chipmunk free, but it may be a little bit slow going getting the next one on Patreon. So just so you know, just
FYI for that.
Right. So as soon as it's verified, then we won't have that issue.
But what that also means is there might be some issues with things like being able to change the video quality. Until we're actually verified.
Until we're verified, the video quality is at a set amount.
And thank you for those that are following us there on VidMe, because they check to make sure we're not a spam account.
Right. So that'll help that process go a lot smoother.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that's Tuesday. On Wednesday we've got Psychopaths.
We're coming up towards the end, guys.
It's getting crazy.
Really intense.
And then on Thursday we've got more Hunter x Hunter. Friday, My Hero Academia, of course. Saturday, we've got JoJo's.
But now.
And
first episode of RWBY Volume 5.
RWBY Volume 5.
Yep.
It has been a long wait. We started this channel for Volume 4. Now Volume 5 is here. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
And not at all to have its spotlight be stolen, but we've got Hype Q on Sunday after that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
and then followed with another podcast on Monday.
And the cycle repeats itself.
Exactly.
Yes.
It'll never end. All right. Also, just wanted to give a brief shout out, guys. Everyone on Patreon who's supporting us, you guys are fantastic.
Yeah.
But we are almost at 800 patrons as of recording this video.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Guys,
you are blowing us away.
It's a continual thing where we can't thank you guys enough for your support and what you're doing there. It means a lot to us. It means a whole lot. Also, I want to announce this here because this is something that's very cool. But this is something that I am doing that's it's my own accord, own everything like that. But I'm going to be promoting this whole thing there, so this is pretty cool. So for those of you that are Rooster Teeth fans, and those of you that are anime fans in particular, and Rooster Teeth fans, this is going to surprise you a lot. The Rooster Teeth community made a board game called RWBY Combat Ready. And the board game had a Kickstarter. Now, the Kickstarter had a bunch of tiers of different levels of involvement and support. And one of the tiers had one person that could support this part. And as such that it was a unique one, I took it upon myself to be like, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to be that one guy to support the board game. One, because Jacob and I, we are really passionate about the board game scene, but also the Rooster Teeth scene as well.
Yep. And RWBY doubly so. Yes,
this tier is to be a guest on the the Rooster Teeth anime podcast fan service.
Yeah.
So within the next indiscriminate amount of time before RTX Austin 2018, I will be a guest on Rooster Teeth Fan Service podcast.
So we will make sure to let you know when we have more information on that.
But I wanted to let you guys know here
that is
happening,
that
and
will happen.
It's pretty legit.
So,
yeah. Once we find out more about that, we'll let you know where when it's happening and all that.
And when it happens, be sure to storm the comments with
SOS
Bros.
SOS Bros, Semblance of Sanity, all the good things. Yeah. Also, shout out to one of our awesome Patreon members, Matthew, who's potentially helping me out with housing while I'm down there and stuff. But I would love to meet any of you that are in the Austin area when that happens.
Yeah.
But who knows? This could not be for another 6 months potentially.
Right.
But I'm letting you guys know now, early in advance, before the Kickstarter's over. So
yes.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Just a bit.
Just a little bit cool.
A little bit.
All right.
So
love.
That's right.
Now,
okay.
There are 2 bits of love that we want to specifically focus on.
Yeah. So there's the whole idea of the love stories with the romantic, angle, right?
Exactly.
But one of the other important angles that I think both of us would actually say is, in a lot of ways, more important than the romantic angle is the non-romantic love stories,
which encompass a whole bunch of things.
Exactly, which also includes the romantic stories. A lot of the best romantic stories also have sort of built with the sort of the romantic development. They have just a basic love story alongside it, which makes it that much better, that much stronger. Right. So, do you want to talk about your examples of...
Well, let's talk more about the differences between the two, and then that'll set the structure for these two. So we're each going to talk about an anime that we believe has great examples of these two dynamics of love stories. They're just great examples of them. We're not going to really go into the pitfalls of having a love story too much. We might go into it slightly. Right. But the main thing I want to bring up is, I would say, in a romantic love story, there's a lot of mystery to it. There's a lot of tension around how things are going to happen. Like, is everything going to work out? Are these two going to tell each other and communicate well what they're feeling? In a story where love is a big theme, but it's not a romantic or a sexual love in any kind of way. It's more about the commitments, the sacrifices, and the promises that are made between characters who are partners, like in most cases lifelong partners. But there's a bond that's almost a duty bond. It's not in that they can't choose to leave these people. It's that they're bound together by fate, or almost by circumstance or choices that they've made. It lends itself to a thing where, for better or for worse, these characters are stuck together, and they come to love each other in the same way in which human beings, when they're put together in a vulnerable environment, and
bonds are forged.
Bonds are forged, exactly.
Yep.
They can't help but love each other. Basically,
this isn't the one that I'm going to talk about, but in my favorite movie, Wolf Children, that story is absolutely a love story through and through, 100%. But it's all about the mom that loves her kids,
familial, top down,
exactly, kind of and even between the siblings. And I would say one of the most important things, one of the reasons that's such a good movie, is, in my opinion, because it didn't actually focus very much on the love between the mom and the dad in the beginning.
Yes.
Because and Wolf Children really is a great example of how to highlight this.
Yeah.
But we watch stories and we love the characters because we love the connections between the characters, right? You can have a character that standalone is great, right? But it's when those characters interact that we really get excited, or at least me. And in the case of love, I would say that is when the connection is as strong in a positive way as it can be.
Yeah.
Right? And then from that, there could potentially, if it's that kind of story, it can develop into something romantic, right? In something like Wolf Children, they don't need to do that because because one, it's, parents and their kids, but even that level of like strong bonds that they develop in the story, that's something that would probably be maybe easy to be mislabeled if it were put into a romance.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. Because there's struggle. It's not as simple as just saying we're bonded and now it's easy and everything's great.
Right.
There's a struggle that goes into any kind of bonded relationship where you have a duty to the other person, but you also are making consistent daily choices to keep the bond strong, to not let it be compromised by circumstances or environmental factors or what have you. So a mother and child relationship is a perfect example of that, but the ones I'd say that get even more so are the ones where the bond itself is a choice. There's not as much of an obligation for these people to love each other. So you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a story where there's a gamut of love relationships, I would say, in this. There's really quite a few. This is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I'm going to say that right off the bat, the one that I think is the most obvious that everyone wants to bring up when they think of love in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is Riza, Hawkeye, and Colonel Mustang. But I want to bring up just Ed and Al as brothers. One of the things that I found from being from a big family with a lot of brothers is that there's a push and pull with a brother relationship. The love is not easy. One, it's not necessarily easily communicated. It's in action. It's in activity shared amongst each other. And Ed and Al end up getting stronger and closer together than ever based upon activity, which leads to a choice that they both agreed upon, but they both come out of this choice that they made, I'm not going to go spoilery with it, into a way that they both feel obligated towards each other for different reasons. One way more so than the other for a very specific reason. And this leads to both of them making sacrifices for each other all along this story. Constantly. Over and over and over again. Big sacrifices. In fact, one of the whole themes of the story is sacrifice, which is in a way what true love is. It's sacrificial love. It's agape. It's the...
Well said.
Greater love is no one known than this than, one who lays down their life for a friend. It's basically the idea, I'm not going to say if anyone dies or anything like that, but there's a sacrifice that's constantly being made by characters, especially between the brothers, for each other because they need each other. There's an aspect where in love there's a lot of desire and want that happens, and a lot of people, I think, confuse that with love.
Sure.
Which is an aspect of love. It totally is. The desire, the longing, the almost in Full Metal Alchemist, pun intended, the lust, I desire you.
Yes.
That is an aspect of love. But the need to have someone in your life like that, where you share that connection that Ed and Al do, I think goes a step beyond into a more truer aspect of love.
It transcends the idea of romance.
Exactly.
Romance is a specific bond that people desire, but everyone desires to have those close bonds with people, whether it's with a romantic partner, friends or whatever.
Because these two truly do understand each other. Yeah. And even at the points where they struggle and they don't understand each other where they're at, it comes across in such a realistic way that we are hurt internally when there's that strife between them. It's really well handled.
It is.
Now, I gotta go and actually mention the Riza, Hawkeye, and Mustang relationship, because theirs has an element of duty to it, and then there's that very subtle, well-written vein of romantic love that's kind of weaved throughout the story. Because Mustang has a duty to his subordinates just as much as the subordinates having a duty to their commanding officer.
Right.
Mustang shows that when his subordinates are hurt, there's a subordinate in particular that gets taken out of commission very quickly, and it hurts him. It hurts him deeply to the core. But because it hurts him, it hurts Hawkeye specifically as a subordinate, because she sees the pain that he's enduring, and there's a shared burden aspect of love in their characters, where not only do they both have promises and commitments that they made to each other, they've both taken on the burden of a specific goal in mind, and the goal is so far-reaching and big that I don't want to talk about it because, again, spoilers. Right. But any of you that have seen FMAB know that this goal does get reached by the end, and it's done in a way that's not as obvious because they also have to sacrifice a lot in order to make this goal happen. Their love and their relationship has many struggles, particularly one that ends in a tunnel. That's very, very good. Where because they love each other, they end up saving each other. And there's a question that Mustang asks Hawkeye, that's so good, where he asks, well, then what are you going to do? And she tells him what she's going to have to do if he does this specific thing that he's potentially threatening to do, and he cannot do it. It snaps him completely out of the situation that he's in. And what follows is probably the most beautiful bit of silence in the whole show, where they basically fall at their knees facing each other and just kind of being like, whoa, we just went through that together. And the silence doesn't last long. I would say it's rudely interrupted in that scene about 5 seconds after it starts. But in that silence, you can feel the intense, strong bonds of love that they have for each other. And it's so good. And the last one I'm going to bring up that's a very, very subtle, well-written, in my opinion, bit of love story in there is the love between Trisha and Hohenheim. And it's not obviously communicated. And also the romantic stuff is almost completely removed from the story because of the unique relationship they have. And when you look at the story, it is actually hard to tell whether or not there is mutual love between them. Until you get to a certain part in the story and you get the proper context, and suddenly the whole thing is a love story. It's beautiful. It'll make you want to cry because, again, it's sacrifice. It's the idea that my life, my choices, my happiness, and all that does not matter if I can give more than the sum of my parts to someone else. I will do it because I love them. And that's love.
Oh, well said. Okay. Think now. I'm gonna bring up Frozen, but that part where Olaf is basically talking to Anna, and she's about to die or whatever, and she doesn't know what love is, and he's like, "Well, I do." It's love is putting someone else's needs before your own. That right there, sums it up.
It's pretty simple, but then he keeps going,
and then he keeps going. But the thing is that can be applied to pretty much any situation, completely separate from romance. So those things, the sacrifices that you're talking about with those characters in FMA, that is exactly the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And with, say, Ed and Elle, no, they're brothers, but they absolutely love each other. They've got each other's backs. They'll trust each other even when it's hard. And
it gets hard.
So good. There's a part that I really want to talk about here, but spoilers, so we won't do that. Now,
your story.
My story. So this probably won't come as a surprise to those
to anyone that's been following our channel for a small amount of time.
But Toradora. So that is one of my absolute favorite anime out there, ever. You need to watch it if you haven't. But it does an amazing job of, I would say, balancing the romantic development of love and the just straight up love separate from the romance. The biggest problem that I tend to have with romantic stories is that they will make the development of the romance more important than the development of the love. Right? The bonds that go beyond just the attraction.
Well said.
And in a really great romance, I would say, or in any really great love story, you need to have, or it's best if you have, I really love it when they have separate ways that or maybe the same kind of way that the characters grow as a result of their bonds with each other. Right? This works for platonic love too. And Toradora, I would say, does that incredibly well. And in this case, it's not it is something that's closely tied to the romance idea. In with Toradora, it's them understanding what love is, because they're in this, they're teenagers, right? And they're in high school. They don't know what love is. They don't know what it is. They have their own ideas, but that's not it.
Right.
And I would say that is a great example of how you can have the thing that they're developing about still be related to romance,
right, with
it still being something that they are each growing in themselves.
Yes. I just want to shout out the way the series starts.
Yeah, that was what I was going to talk about next. So the series starts, and some people don't like it because it seems like it's basically telling you kind of where the story's going to go. Mm-hmm. But it basically shows the two characters, going back and forth in separate locations, talking about love.
And what it is.
Yeah. And it's absolutely fantastic. Yes. I'm not going to tell you what it is here because I want there to be some little mystery box thing in your mind so that you'll go watch the show. Mm-hmm. But it's fantastic.
It is.
It is absolutely fantastic. And with something like Toradora, mm-hmm. They a lot of times in romance stories, like hey, heck, Pride and Prejudice, like classic Jane Austen, right? They'll start the characters very much not liking each other, or at
diametrically
opposed, or at the very least have the romance thing be off the table. That way they can develop and build a foundation, right, and then the romance can be added in later, like the frosting on an awesome cake or something, right? And in Toradora, they do that, and they do it in some really awesome ways, so that the idea of the sacrifice and putting other people's needs first, even though Taiga is a total 100% Queen Tsundere, because she is, and it's crazy, they will,
one of the best.
in the first 2 episodes, they will already have these characters basically be demonstrating what love is separated from the romance, and they don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah.
But then one of the other characters is like, oh, I get it. Okay.
And to bring up a lot of things why people might say it's not like a typical love story is because it's predictable.
Yes.
In that you can kind of tell how this is going to go.
But
they're still going to take you on a journey.
Yep.
And the journey is so good because
yes.
I think that's more about what love is.
Exactly.
Is it's not about the
what will happen.
I love you, kiss, kiss, it's done.
Yeah.
It's
you're married and then the story's over.
Right.
Unless you have an affair.
Right. The journey through that whole thing is more of what it's about.
And that's one of the things that I love the most about Toradora, because I've watched it probably 5 times, and most people that I know, they won't actually want to rewatch it that much because they'll be like, oh no, we know how it ends, right? Mm-hmm. The drama's done, right?
Right.
But Toradora does an amazing job of having little bits in each episode, so that if you were to take out any of the episodes, even if some of them are not as good as others,
right,
you would be missing something.
You would.
There would be something that contributed that would not be there anymore. And this was probably the first show where I saw this so strongly, where I got to the end of the show and I was like, wow, that was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. There were a couple key points where there were big revelations about plot and stuff like that, but there didn't really seem to be any really crucial pivotal moments, and that absolutely perplexed me. Mm-hmm. I was just blown away by it. And then, of course, when I went and rewatched it, I was like, oh, wow, that little thing they do there and there and there and there. And
you realize it's just tons of little pivotal moments.
Tons of little
pivotal moments.
Little pivotal moments, yeah. And it's just absolutely fantastic. The ending is super satisfying. Make sure you watch past the ending credits.
If you have an ounce of emotion in you, you will find it hard to fight back tears at certain parts, because it's a story that is about love, and romance is there.
Right.
It's a thing where you can fall in love with the characters and their struggles and their desires and the relationships and all this stuff. But when it comes down to it, the story is about love objectively separate from the characters.
Yep.
And the characters are stumbling around trying to figure out what
bumbling
love
their way through it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so rewarding.
Good.
Yeah.
One other thing I have to shout out. Once you watch it, there's a song called Lost My Pieces. Mm-hmm. And they basically, it's the traditional, emotional anime song that they play at key moments.
Right.
But they time it so well, and this song is so good that you will basically build up this association with all the emotions from throughout the show condensed into a 2-minute song.
Right.
And
it's like it's subliminally programming you. It's like, all right, are you ready to cry?
Yeah.
Here 3, you 2, go. Yeah. And it's every time. My head gets hot, and I'm like, oh no.
I have listened to that song on repeat for like probably several days if you were to put the hours together. Like,
I was worried for you.
Like, it's so good.
It's precious. So that being said, love is a very key theme in a story.
Yeah.
But oftentimes what it's used is as a more of a plot point than an actual
a token
theme.
Just sort of insert thing because people are drawn to it so much, people will excuse it if it's done poorly.
Right.
But then when it's done really good, it's something so special. But
so put more love in your stories, writers, creators, showrunners, and all that out there.
And make the characters be going on a journey together, not just a journey to romance, but their own journeys.
Journey through love, not journey towards it.
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
That's why I think shows like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and Toradora are some of the best ones out there. Is that it is about the journey and not about the destination. So that's good stuff.
All right, so
let's get into Q&A. All right, so
first one by Aaron Yeager.
Aaron Yeager, who is your favorite black anime character? I gotta say
there aren't many.
Yeah, there aren't many, and it's kind of unfortunate, but. Like, if I had to go and like be kind of specific about one, it might be Rock actually from Black Lagoon. I mean,
that's Dutch.
Is it Dutch?
Yeah, Rock's the main character.
I fail. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Dutch. Yeah, I'm not. That's not my favorite show. But the thing is he had a persona about him, Dutch, that it was just really good.
I'm going to. I wanted to make sure that you went first because I knew you'd choose Dutch because like how many like.
It's actually a problem. Like that's, Japan is a bit behind us even in the representation side of things.
And oftentimes when the black characters are in there, they're very much stereotyped. Naruto. But my favorite black anime character is Casca from Berserk. Now I gotta give a shout out for this. So I've told you a little bit about Casca. You have told me a little bit about her, yeah. Okay, 1997 was when this anime came out, and the manga, it would have started, a while before that, right? So they're still doing, Guts is still the 80s, like super jacked dude that, awesome, epitome of manliness. And then you have Casca, who is the one girl in this man's world, right? And is black, and is basically like, but it was so great to see a character that just I would not expect to see in an anime or even really like just any story as a normal thing. Like, and the fact that they handled her really well.
You told me though that in the remake or whatever they whitewashed her.
Yeah, so. Not that you should ever watch the 2016 Berserk anime, but here's another reason not just the bad CG. They made her white
for no reason, right?
Like I don't think so. Like
so here's the thing, guys. If you're making anime, if you're writing characters and stuff like that,
have more culturally diverse characters.
Culturally diverse characters for real. We have enough white people in media. It's cool.
Yeah.
And nothing against that. We're just saying like this is a problem.
Right.
And
like
you can't like.
It's like having better female characters in shonen. Like
right.
It's like
it's the same thing. Yeah. All right. So G Malika asks, "What makes a good love story?" Oh. Hey, we actually used your comment as inspiration for this podcast.
Yep.
And even more importantly, a good couple that doesn't seem forced. And who is your favorite couple in anime? Or anyone that you think have potential to be a good couple. Mine is Hawkeye and Mustang.
I'm going to say my favorite couple is not Ryuji and Taiga from Toradora.
Okay.
My favorite couple is Isaac and Miria from Bacano.
Yes! They are amazing.
They are a gift to humanity.
They are a gift to humanity. That is so true. Isaac and Miria might even be better than Mustang and Hawkeye. I mean, Isaac and Miria, if you haven't watched Bacano, first go do that.
Yeah, first go do that.
And then go rewatch all your favorite Isaac and Miria scenes because they are precious. They are so good.
They just adore her, and it's amazing. Now, Isaac and Miria might not be the best example because they are such extreme and unrealistic characters.
Right.
But the couple dynamic at the very least,
so good.
Oh my gosh.
I'll use my trusty gun. But you don't have any guns, do I? Yeah. Anyways, just watch it. It's great. Osu asks, when do you think is an appropriate time to put in flashbacks? What are some examples of good backstory and the bad ones?
Well, you can always have the classic, why am I remembering this now?
Yeah, I think the appropriate time to put in flashbacks is when it's directly relevant to the current plot.
Absolutely.
There's a show that I'm going to bring up here that I think did flashbacks really well. And it's funny because it's a live action show. This is Battlestar Galactica, the remake. Battlestar Galactica had a very interesting plot in that it was very much a kind of soapy drama character dynamic thing. But the sci-fi element had a kind of a concurrent plot where you had the survivors and they would constantly think back to before the event, basically. Sure. And anytime they thought back to the event, it was integrally tied to the relevancy of the current plot. And a lot of other stories have done this, I think, in live action.
Sure.
Like Lost did this very well, for instance. Lost, I'd say, is a more popular example, but I wanted to bring up Battlestar Galactica because a lot of people might not have ever watched it because it's sci-fi. A lot of people don't like to watch sci-fi.
I did not think you'd bring that one up, but that's a great one, yeah. I really liked the way Mikasa's backstory was done in Attack on Titan.
Sure.
And I know that it's sort of like a token tragic backstory.
Yeah.
But it was done in a way that felt very real. It was the ramifications of it were still being felt in the present day.
A lot of them.
Almost all of them. Almost all of them. So it was, for most all of the backstories, but specifically for Mikasa's. Because it answered some of the questions about her character. Because it basically took a character who otherwise would have been a trope, like cookie cutter sort of stereotype of the kudere, right? And gave an explanation. And it gave an explanation that really made you sympathize with her as a character, and it was also put in right at the right time so that you're like, oh crap, all right. Because they, instead of a lot of times backstories are used to make you care about a character before they die or something like that. This was making you care about a character before someone that they cared about died.
Yes.
Which is
right after it.
Well, right. Yeah. Before they find out that they died. And it didn't actually die. But those 3 episodes of
those are probably some
6,
of the
7,
best
8
episodes of Attack on Titan.
I absolutely love those episodes because it made you care so much.
Yeah, I would say another great example of really good character flashbacks is basically anything in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah.
There are quite a few that are done with Zuko, but the one with Aang in the storm is fantastic.
Yep.
There's one with Sokka that's done very well in Bato of the Water Tribe.
Oh,
There's one with Katara's mom that's handled very well, where they do the changing perspective thing in the Southern Raiders.
Right.
They also do a really sad kind of infrequent one throughout Iroh's story with his son.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then
I can't think of any horrible points with backstories and flashbacks, but I'll tell you that the kind of things that you want to look out for is when there's no relevancy to the current plot.
Yes. And when it disrupts the plot.
Yes.
If it's at something that is in the middle of something very chaotic or something like that, it is not the time for backstory.
Anime is oftentimes guilty of doing this in fights.
Yep.
Especially in shonen, where they'll drop a flashback in the middle of the fight to add all this context to it. But the thing is that they'll give either too much backstory flashback stuff,
right,
or they'll go way in depth into things that aren't actually relevant in this specific moment. They're doing it for a way to give world building at a point where you're really high energy, so you'll care more about this world building.
Which is unfortunate, because if, say, like, they had taken that backstory and done it earlier, that would have made you appreciate that character way more every time they were on screen.
Right.
So, you know, that's, it's unfortunate when that happens, but if you look for relevancy and making it fit into the plot.
Yeah. I would say a time where there was some pretty bad flashback stuff was in, like, the Hobbit movies. There were some moments in the Hobbit movie where they brought flashback in just to basically give names to the bad guys.
Sure.
And to some conflicts that we didn't care about characters that we had just been introduced to. It's really hard to find horrible flashbacks unless you're watching horrible stories, really. So it is more of a you know, a taste thing. Like, if you like flashbacks, then you'll like more of the ones that we're talking about. One that was
done absolutely amazingly, and granted, it's a lot very similar to Zuko, but Todoroki. The whole way they handled those flashbacks in My Hero Academia,
which was fantastic. In the middle of the fight.
Yeah, right. But they had already been building up to it in previous times, and they kept the flashbacks short. They did. The alternating back and forth, and they kept it relevant to what was happening at that moment.
Yeah, it was less than 5 minutes. It was really short.
Yeah.
Little Duck asks, what are ways to evoke sadness without killing characters, and what are some examples of moments that succeeded in doing this for you?
Okay. So, with anytime you're trying to get some sort of emotional reaction from people, I would say that it's not necessarily about how high the emotions go, but it's about how quickly you change the emotions. Either from going to 0 to 100, or from going from negative 100 to 100, right?
Yeah.
So, with like, say, making people sad, right? The time that you are the most sad, if you think about it, is when you've been really, really happy up till this point, and then you plummet to the depths of despair, right? But you don't have to stop there. You can go to basically different kinds of sadness, basically. So it doesn't have to be determined strictly by the environment. Have it be tied to the characters themselves. Yeah. Because that's how the emotion is actually conveyed. It's not by the things that are happening, but by the characters' responses to it. That's what the readers or the viewers pick up on.
True. One of the ways to evoke sadness without killing characters is do something that is an injustice to a character and get it to where you actually are getting them angry sad.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed that a lot of shows do very well is I'll say, this is one for those justice people. Like, basically people that will see an injustice that happens and they won't necessarily get sad. They'll get, like, angry. They'll be like, I will protect you, my small little child.
Right.
I will protect you from the world. And that, in a way, is a way to evoke the sadness.
Yep.
But the sadness is actually something that spurs us on to want to help these characters and we end up caring about them more.
Yeah.
I would say that, like an example of like Todoroki's backstory in MHA is a way to evoke sadness, but you will get different responses from different people.
Ooh, yeah.
So don't leave it to be where you're trying to specifically evoke sadness. Have it be a thing where people go through regular things in life and then it doesn't go well.
Yes, because you want to keep it you want to make sure it's something that the person can identify with. If there's, say, some like total emotionality of this thing that's happening, right? If they can only identify with it 20%, then they're only going to be able to get 20% of that emotional stuff. Yeah. If they can identify with it 100%, if it's something that they had to go through, like, personally or something like that, they'll be able to identify with it way more, and it'll make them way more sad.
Yes.
So if you can make it something that is fairly normal, right? Something that they will most likely have gone through. Things like Todoroki or character deaths. I think the reason you brought up character deaths is because very few people have had to deal with, like, a traumatic, like, killing of someone that they knew, right?
One of the... Well, sorry, I just wanted to go on to this really quick. Is one of the things that Pixar is known very well for is getting you sad really, like, intensely at one point in their movies. But a lot of them involve loss or death. But the beginning of the movie all up until the point where she's actually about to pass away, is very sad. is very sad because you're actually dealing with the real life story of someone who is dealing with loss and dealing with the giving up on their dreams. Yeah. But they're still...
But it's that happy sad,
but that happy
too.
sad too, because you're seeing the beauty amidst the sadness,
right? And the reason that exactly,
and that's what you were talking about in the beginning,
that acceleration, that difference. Yes. And one of my personal favorites is with Wolf Children. At the end of the movie, it's sad because the kids are leaving, right? Yeah. But then you realize, oh no, that's what they're supposed to do. They've come into themselves. They've realized who they want to be, and now this is them taking the next step on life's journey. And you're like, and it goes from really sad because no, they're leaving, they can't do that, to oh, okay, that's normal. And then you realize how it affects the mom, even still, even though she's so happy for them to, be finally going out on their own. How sad that makes her, and and kind of how lonely it makes her too. Yeah. And that just destroyed me when I watched that movie because it just went, it bounced me all over the place, and it was fantastic.
All right, so Susaya asks, have you read fan fiction, and what's your opinion about them? I have read some fan fiction.
Oh, really?
I don't really have anything really strong to say about them either way.
My opinion, I have two things to say about fan fiction. One, the better the story, the less the need for fan fiction. So it's that basically fan fiction exists because there was something that didn't happen in the story that people wanted to happen, right? So if it ends very satisfyingly, like for instance Toradora, I looked it up. There's almost nothing on Toradora.
Interesting.
But then say for other stories, especially with like a lot more characters, where people got into all the shipping and stuff, and it wasn't canon, then the fan fiction goes crazy. But if you're a writer, fan fiction is not the best place to start because then you'll end up just getting good at writing fan fiction rather than regular fiction. Yeah. But yeah.
Only Wild asks, since Ruby is technically not an anime and you can't rate it on my anime list, what would you rate every Ruby volume individually and Ruby as a whole out of 10, of course? Well, this is interesting because I'm not going to get into the whole debate of technically, not, but right now there's almost no grounds for the technically part of your statement here. So it's kind of interesting in that, well, right now we're basically on the side of history where we're not able to label certain things yet.
But we still can't rate it on Mal. So
we can't rate it on Mal, so that is a thing. I would say that I can't really rate every volume individually because it's really hard for me to separate them, having watched Ruby through and through at least half a dozen times, maybe more. I would say there are parts in Ruby that get as low as a 6.5 or a 7. And then there are parts in Ruby that get as high as a 10. So it's a question of where does it average out? I'd say it all generally averages out around like 7.7.
Yeah, I'd say like
8.1.
I'd say like 7.5 for season 1, 8 for season 2, 9 for season 3, and then like 7 for season 4 or 7.5. I don't know.
Okay, cool. Good question.
So
Galaxy Queen asks, what do you guys think about the reaction community in general? If you could change and improve something about the community, what would it be?
I would want there to be actual more community. Like a lot of times, I mean, like let's talk about this, Caleb. Like, people will just react for the sake of the reaction. But there won't really be a community because it's the communities of the things that people are reacting to, but not really a reaction community.
Right, and you can go a step, even just a little step into that, where it ends up being kind of the commentary side of things, where Reactor is just basically an extra extension on the commentary side of the community for these specific shows. Sure. But what we're trying to do in particular is actually get into the communities themselves and create a transcendent community of all of these types of content about basically our passion for stories in general.
Right.
If you could change and improve something about the community, what would it be? I would say that there would be more community, like what you're saying. Follow-up question: has anyone given you negative comments just because you do reaction videos?
Not
really, but I mean maybe one or two.
Yeah, but we've actually avoided that whole thing entirely by focusing a lot on the discussion side of things.
And I would say that's a thing that I would hope a lot more reactors would make a shift towards, is focusing on providing their own take on the things that they're reacting to,
right?
Because their opinion is something that should be given. Everyone has an opinion, and it's easy to get on the internet and anonymously share your opinion, but when you get in front of a camera and you record yourself, I feel like reactors in general hold back actually a lot of their true opinions because they don't want to negatively impact their
they don't want to get in the way of the thing that they're reacting to.
Exactly.
But like, I would say that is where reactors can really add a ton to like just the general value of their content, because then it makes them basically stand apart from the crowd, saying, this is what I'm bringing to the table.
Right.
You know, with us, it's discussion.
Yes.
But, you know.
And just a passion for stories.
And just passion for stories and stuff.
And do you watch any other reactors? So, yes, I am the reaction watcher of the two of us.
Yeah, I don't watch as many.
I watch quite a few. I could totally list them all out right here, but there's probably about 15 of them.
But like, at least, like, you know, Blind Wave.
Well, yeah, you don't need to just take away my ability to answer the question.
Okay. Sorry.
If it wasn't made clear already, yes, I do watch Blind Wave, but there's a lot of them. Yeah, I could get into that with the comments of some of you guys if you want to. Wagar Chowdhury. What's your favorite moment from MHA so far? And also, was any show so bad that you dropped halfway through? Favorite moment from MHA? That's tough. It might still be the
Episode
so you
10,
can.
Yeah.
Oh
wait.
I was gonna be this so and you can be a hero at the beginning.
Oh well, yeah. That's definitely, like, that's the runner up for me but the season 2 episode 10. Yeah.
Season 2 episode 10 was the culmination of some very good writing.
Oh yeah.
But I would say it's not a moment. It's a whole arc. It's
sure. Yeah.
As a moment, there was no specific moment other than it's your power too.
Yeah.
And that was a powerful moment because it was combined with Yusei Run and Todoroki accepting
and
his whole thing,
the hyper beam and the
oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
In terms of story moments and emotion and just powerful, like, just effect that it had on me, it was episode 2. You can be a hero.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
That was something else.
That was so good.
Also, was any show so bad that you dropped halfway through?
So,
well, here's the thing. Yes, but the thing is that the show wasn't bad. I just don't like certain types of shows, and that's
right.
Yes, I don't want to name what it was though. Just. Yes, there was a show that was so bad that I dropped halfway through.
Yeah, nothing though that we basically were like planning on like reacting to.
Exactly,
just stuff that we were watching in our own time.
Yeah. Freya K6 asks, "Do you watch any cartoons aside from Avatar: The Last Airbender, of course?" I watch quite a bit of cartoons. I've watched Young Justice. I watched Teen Titans.
I haven't watched either of those.
I like the superhero stuff in general. I even watched a little bit of Invader Zim.
Oh yeah, I really liked
Invaders. I really liked Invader Zim. I'm really glad it's getting greenlit to come back on the air. That would be that'll be fantastic.
I watched some Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas and Ferb was okay. I didn't watch all of it, so that's why I didn't listen on there. Would you be interested in watching more childish cartoons? Well, the adjective childish is such a funny thing because when I think of childish, no offense, I think of something like SpongeBob. I mean, SpongeBob, I know SpongeBob has some like more adult themes and stuff like that and is actually relatively deep, but it's so formulaic it kind of makes me gag a little bit.
So is like Phineas and Ferb and Phineas and Ferb is like the definition of formulaic.
Well, yeah, I totally get it, but I don't like watching comedy for the sake of watching comedy. I need actual story involved as well, like linear story.
Although this is an anime, but it is very much for children. Madoka Magica, that one.
Just stop. We've done this way too many times.
Yeah.
You mentioned Rick and Morty, but would you be able to watching cartoons primarily for children? Yeah, I'm trying to get him to watch Teen Titans in particular.
Right. Yeah.
Not Teen Titans Go.
Yeah.
I feel like
Young Justice. You were telling me.
Yeah, but Young Justice is more for teens. I would say.
Gotcha.
But yeah, teens, children. It's a gray line there. All right, Mikey asks,
how much time do you spend on social media, not including YouTube?
Well, this is going to be a very different answer for both of us because now we are running a Discord,
right?
And we have a Twitter, and there's a whole lot more time we spend on social media now because of what we're doing. Also, there's the Patreon as well.
Yeah,
I'd say if we count Discord, a day, I would say 90 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say in a week, anywhere from like 10 to 15 hours or so.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit. And that's not really going into too much of like the couple minutes here and there on Facebook.
Right.
Dor Michelle asks, what would you prefer? The ability to fly or the ability to fly or fly naturally with wings?
So
the ability to fly naturally or flying with wings.
Yeah, I mean, I'd want to be able to fly without wings. Like, the wings would be cool, and I remember thinking as a kid, like, yes, that I would prefer the wings. But then, like, what happens if your wings get hurt? You can't fly.
Here's the thing. I would even take a hit to not being able to truly fly without wings if I could just guarantee that I would be able to do that. Because my dream is being able to jump, like, way larger than I ever could, and being able to control my jumps so that when I landed I didn't kill myself, basically. I wasn't a splatted paste on the ground.
If the wings came with the idea that they were dragon wings and that I was also a dragon, I would take that. But
maybe if my wings were invisible, then that would be pretty cool.
Sure.
Yeah. Daw asks a possibly fun question. If you could have any Western story be adapted into anime, which would you most want to watch? Or maybe least want? Okay. So I think we both have our things already, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go classic in that this one has been remade. It's very popular. I want True Grit.
Sure.
So there's a lot of good Western stories out there, and you're going to mention one of my favorites as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
True Grit has just this really simple story done so well.
Yeah.
The final showdown in True Grit, no matter which version or who's doing it that you watch, is so iconic. It would just work perfectly for an anime.
It would. And the idea that it's a revenge story like makes it
very easy to get into.
Yeah.
In fact, I almost would love to...
And it has a kid protagonist.
Yep, it has a kid protagonist, too.
Yep. With the tsundere grandpa.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I can just picture the old kind of Japanese kind of grandpa, kind of surly and stuff like that. And they could even do it as a version where it's swords instead of, guns and stuff.
They could even animate it to make him look like John Wayne.
Possibly.
Yeah. But yeah, you're totally... Yeah, you are 100% right. Silverado.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say Silverado.
Silverado... Yeah. I would love to see it. We'd get another actually well developed black anime character.
Yep.
But we would also have the token pervert that is always going in for the kiss with the ladies and then ends up getting locked up.
I forgot about that.
We would be able to get we would still be able to get one of the wise, quieter older men.
Yeah.
And we would be able to have the whole idea of the corrupt the corrupt mayor, that totally would work in an anime so well. And also, you've got the very short lady. I forget what her name is, but that would work great in an anime too. And also the guy who's on the edge of what does he actually want, what side will he pick, and all that stuff. Oh yeah, that would be a very good one. Fantastic.
Least want. something really like boring and stereotypical, like a train thing or something that's like,
or like a really bad cheesy like Daniel Boone or like Davy Crockett,
Lone Ranger.
Oh
God, no.
Yes,
no.
that would, or Roy Rogers. Yeah,
Ugh.
those yeah. Not
heroes
not
in
two.
white hats and masks
and villains with black hats that always fall from, you know, ridiculous heights in order to die.
No.
Like, yeah,
I would say Western stories have more bad stories than good stories.
Yeah,
it is very hard to write a good, like a great. Sorry, it's very hard to write a great Western.
Yeah,
it's easy to write an average Western, but once you've seen one, you've kind of seen a lot of them.
Unless it's the greats.
Yeah. Unless it's some of the greats. Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of it is also these iconic moments in Westerns. Westerns don't really flow well generally because there's a lot of just riding on horses sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But other times there's bits like the end of True Grit where it's like, "Hey, you in hell, you son of a bitch!" And then he rides down with 6 guys against him, and he's got his shotgun that he's reloading with the spin there. It's moments like that that are special, and then there's, you know, like your favorite moment in Silverado. Oh. I've had enough. That ain't right. And I've had enough of what ain't right. There are
so many.
There's so many.
Like, there's that part. There's the part when it's the guy's hat gets shot off, and he's, "Today my jurisdiction ends here." You know, like they just do it so well. Yeah,
but yeah. This has been great, guys. Q&A's there. Make sure you stuck around and listen through all the announcements in case you kind of skipped ahead to the discussion bit. Because there was some, there's an interesting announcement in there.
Just a little bit.
I'll probably put it up. I'll probably put it up on Twitter.
I get the feeling you're going to be talking about that for quite a while.
Yeah, that could be pretty interesting. All right, guys. Make sure to put your questions for future podcasts in the comments below. For this one. And we'll see you again later. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.